Okay.
The Economist.
All right, so listen up. We're going to go over how to approach informational text, which is a different kind of reading than narratives and short stories and books and things like that. So I should see your computer is either closed or pushed away. Unless you're taking notes, I want to see headphones out. Okay? All right. All right, does anyone know what an informational text is besides Rowan? Malachi?
It's a non-fictional text to inform you of a certain subject.
Okay, so could a book be an informational text?
Depends what kind of book.
Okay, good. Good answer. I like that. So it is. It has to be a... No. Did you check this out? Okay. All right, look at the board. Eyeballs, please. Jillian, Emma. All right, what is an informational text? Ella, can you read that for me? Genre. You got it. Subgenre. You got it.
A subgenre of non-fiction writing.
Non-fiction. Keep going. What else?
Should inform the reader about a specific topic.
Okay.
Written in a way that allows the reader to easily find key information and understand the topic.
Okay, good. So what does that mean? Can someone put that in language that we understand? Okay. What does that mean? That's language that we know. Jillian.
It's informing the reader of a certain topic that's easy. The information that it's providing is easy to find on the site.
Totally. Okay. It's all about informing the reader, hence the word informational text. The purpose is to inform you of something. Okay? This is probably the most difficult text to read. Anyone have their history book or their psychology book or their science textbook? That's all informational text. Okay? So these type of texts usually have headings that usually bold or italicize important vocabulary, like your textbook. Include a sidebar with additional info. And they often use things like diagrams, charts, infographics, pictures, okay? Honestly, a textbook is the easiest thing I could think of for an informational text. All right? Where are they found? Why is this important? So I want you guys to think about it. I'm not going to be talking to you about informational text, but why is it important? Okay? It's found in things like I said, textbooks, magazines, newspapers, internet articles, consumer documents, instruction manuals. Okay? Look at me when I say this. You will encounter informational text in real life more than you will any other type of literature or writing. Okay? Who wants to own a house someday? Guess what you got to read tons and tons of pages of in order to get there? These stupid things.
Or you hire a lawyer to read them for you.
You still have to sign it. Okay? So things like newspaper articles. We need to know how to access informational text if we want to read newspaper articles. Do we want to be informed citizens? Yes, we do. Okay?
And you look on social media.
Yeah, exactly. Twitter. That's my brother. He's like, I get the news from Twitter. I'm like, oh no. Okay? It's actually the most accurate, or the quickest way to get news, because a lot of news outlets do tweet out, okay? Magazine articles, that's an informational text, a different type of reading. Encyclopedias, these things are terrible, but guess what? It's an informational text.
Wikipedia.
Okay? Science or history textbooks. Paperwork given specifically to buy a house, to do anything, to buy a car. Do you guys know? Have any of you been with a parent to buy a car before? How long were you there when they bought that car? Okay, I have done it. It is miserable. Levi, do you have a difference? Was it like person to person though? Yeah, so it's a lot quicker, right?
Person to person is like, here's the cash, here's the papers, here's the keys. Take it.
If you go to a dealership, it takes hours.
Oh, that's
hours. I hate it. Yes.
That's why you buy cars used.
Yes, it's miserable, okay? Here's an example. Let's use my cute little baby Braxton for an example, okay? The amount of money I spend on that kid is absolutely ridiculous, but it's necessary, right? He's a cute baby, okay? So we went to Bye Bye Baby the other weekend, and we had to buy a high chair, we had to buy a new plate mat, we had to buy all this stuff, right? And my husband, God bless him, he is not a handyman, okay? The farthest thing from a handyman ever. Like, I was like, can you do this? And he's like, yeah, sure. Tries it, falls apart every time, all right?
Construction man.
Yes. So, he has this little sleep and play rocker thing where you put him in, you press the button, and like rocks him to sleep. It's awesome. All right. So I'm like, can you put it together, please? And so I put it together. And he goes, they forgot a piece. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm looking at how to like send it back and everything. My dad comes over, and my dad's like, Matt, there's like a whole piece that he had forgotten to put. And I was like, did you read the instruction manual? And he goes, no, I just thought I could put it together. You think he has good informational tech skills? I need to find that English teacher and hunt her down, okay? Because she failed my husband. Yeah. All right?
We men are above instruction manuals.
Yes, okay. So, what I'm trying to get to is informational text you will encounter in real life, okay? And it is hard to read. So we're going to figure out ways to kind of get you, these kind of documents, okay? The Declaration of Independence, a lot of documents about government, a lot of documents about your job, okay? When you guys start a job later in life, you'll have to sign a ton of documents and you need to be able to read those, because not everyone can afford a lawyer that charges $100 an hour, am I right? Okay? So we got all types of different kinds of informational texts. So there's 4 main categories, all right? Number 1, literary nonfiction. So, I have one up here. I have one of the sophomores reading an autobiography of Nelson Mandela called The Long Walk to Freedom. That is literary nonfiction, okay? So, travel writing, nature writing, biographies, memoirs, sports interviews, that's all literary nonfiction, okay? Same thing as like when you're watching ESPN and you're seeing a sports interview. That's an informational text, okay? Expository texts. So these educate you. So you guys ever Googled something to try to figure something out? And you get an article about it? Or, remember when cell phones were blowing up everywhere? Samsungs, right? People were Googling like, okay, is my phone going to blow up? That would be an expository text. It's trying to educate you about something. In that case, blowing up cell phones. Argumentative and persuasive texts. These are like op-eds. If you ever read an article, there's an opinion behind. It's still an informational text, but it's opinion-based. Okay? Trying to persuade you. Why might it be important that you be able to recognize that something's a persuasive text? Why is it important that you guys open up a magazine article, read something, you're like, okay, this is a persuasive article? Rowan.
So that you can tell if it's biased.
So you can tell if it's biased. Someone else had their hand back, Emma.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, anyone else? Yeah, good.
That isn't like 100% truth, because like you'll see it and you'll just know, oh, that's someone's opinion. It's not like exactly accurate.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So you know if it's an opinion. Elijah.
Political sides of stuff.
Okay. So like knowing if it's Fox, which is more conservative leaning, or if it's CNN, which is more liberal leaning, right?
Yeah.
Malachi.
They're not good if you're reading just about one thing, because they will only like give you one side of the story to persuade you.
Okay. Exactly. If you guys come across an article, you need to know if they're trying to persuade you to do something. When you see an ad, you know they're trying to get you to spend your money, right? So you're a little bit cautious about it because you're like, okay, that's an ad. You need to have that same approach to this kind of text. Lastly, procedural, okay? My husband has never seen these, apparently. This is a step-by-step instruction on how to build a dang sleep and play rocker for a baby. These kinds of manuals. So like, first do this, or recipes, okay? That would be a procedural text. All right. So has anyone heard these terms before? Problem and solution, cause and effect, chronological, description, compare and contrast, scientific a little bit. So we had the types, Aiden, we have the types of informational texts. Okay, now we're looking at the different types of structure. What's a structure? Someone hit me with some knowledge. What's a structure? Okay, say it again. A building, okay? And what is it like the, can you give me a little more understanding, like, what do you mean by a building? Is it like what it looks like? How it's built. Okay, that's what I wanted. Good job, Levi. Way to read my mind. Okay? So when we're looking at informational text structures, we're looking at the way these texts are built. Okay? Why do we need to know that? Why is it like, okay, I need to know that this text is compare and contrast? Why would we need to know that? Anybody? Bueller? You guys are too young for that, right? Okay? It's easier to read. If you know what you're looking at, you'll be able to understand, okay, I'm looking for an effect here. I know that this is the cause of something. Alright? So, first one, problem in solution. Can anyone give me an example of something that would probably have a problem in solution informational text structure?
An instruction manual.
An instruction manual? What's the problem?
You need to build or cook something.
Okay. So, introduction to, so, you need to build something, okay, and the solution is going to be the instructions, right? What else? What else would be a problem in solution? Faith? Recipe might be a little more descriptive. If it was like, if you're burning your burgers, here's what you need to do. That's probably more problem than solution. I never burn my burgers because I am an excellent cook. Okay?
Well, that's because you're a mom, so that
Right.
is so stereotypical.
Right when I-
Horrible.
Kaylin, you can come over for dinner sometime at my house. Okay? I'll just make some brownies. Alright. Next. Cause and effect. What might be useful for a cause and effect text structure? Yeah.
Kind of like maybe like an article on why the stock market crashed.
Yeah, okay, so like the effect would be what? The stock market crashing, right? So we're gonna find out the why. And what was it yours, Jillian? Jillian, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's just that if you do this, then this happens.
Okay, yeah. If you do this, then this happens. Continue.
Maybe like a mechanical book, like what
Ooh.
cars say, like if you put diesel in your gas engine.
My mom did that
This
as a
one.
kid. We had to walk home like 2 miles through a field.
Also, one of my dad, he used to be into street racing. One of his friends
Uh-huh.
put diesel in their gas
So
engine.
rude.
And and they drove all the way down there just for this one race, and his car didn't work for that one race.
Aw, so you lost. If you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? That's what I always say. Okay.
I'm gonna put that on my test. Thank you very much.
If you learned anything from this, then it's here.
You out of English.
Alright, one thing I can think of, fires, right? Whenever you read an article on fires, or think about like the campfire, a lot of them are trying to find the cause, right? We know the effects. What is, it's PG&E. We'll stop there. Alright? Chronological or sequential. This is steps. We gave some examples of Faith. What did you say? Chronological, step 1, step 2?
Which ingredients to put in first.
Recipes, totally, okay? So step 1, do this. If you were my mother, this doesn't matter. Okay, so I have a husband who doesn't know how to do instruction manuals, and I have a mother who doesn't know how to do steps. Okay? That's probably what Kaylin's mom does for dinner.
Bake for 5 hours
Okay.
and then you put the mixture in.
Something like that.
How did you even
Yeah.
eat as a kid?
She what?
How did you even eat as a kid?
We eat the same thing almost every week. My mom can make like a handful of things. Stopped at that. So, chronological is when we have steps, okay? Recipes is a great example of that. Alright, compare and contrast. What would be an example of this? This is pretty easy. Rowan?
Comparing brands.
Ooh, okay, so comparing brands, especially like you've been doing your shopping. Jillian, what were you going to say? Kate and Ava, I will separate you. Huh?
I didn't have an example. Just gonna
Okay, good.
taking two topics and explaining what's different and then what's kind of the same.
Yeah, so you're able to find out what's similar and then what makes them different as well. Good. Okay.
You can put it in an argumentative paper and then compare the other side with the side that you're talking. And then
Yes.
contrast them.
Good.
And then talk about why they're
Okay,
why
good.
their side is
So
better.
very effective for argumentative pieces. Emma, you're going to say something?
So you say compare like the protagonist versus the antagonist.
Ooh, good. So good use in they did that a lot with like, you guys are too young for this, but like Star Wars, how
Oh, we're too
Luke
young for Star
Skywalker
Wars.
is Darth Vader's son, okay?
Whoa.
In the movie, they would do things in order to compare them and contrast them, like making Luke wear all dark in some movies, right? What was I going to say here? Compare and contrast. Maybe that was it. Oh, think about movies and books, right? You guys do a lot of that in English. We'll look at something and be like, okay, how is this different than the book? In a lot of the cases, the book is always better, but we're not going to get into that. Okay? Description, this is basic. It's describing something, okay? So, like, a lot of political websites and blogs, they're describing an event that happened in order to inform you, correct? Okay, why might we need these? We talked about this a little bit. Papers, projects to be an informed citizen. That's huge. There's a lot of uninformed citizens making voting decisions that affect you, right? Okay? To learn, to surf the web intelligently, to impress your significant other with random knowledge, always, okay? My husband didn't learn that one because apparently he can't build a rocket plan. Exercise your brain, read, okay? Lots of things in real life. Buying a house, buying a car, all right? If my husband ever comes into class, poor guy, he's just going to be like, you're so mean, okay? Where can we find these things? Everywhere. Your phone, the internet, school, databases, libraries, okay? Your parents. Lots of informational texts. When you guys go to college, you have to read a ton of stuff. If you guys, If you guys go into a trade, you're still gonna have to update yourself every single year. New innovations come out. If you're a welder, if you're an electrician, things don't stay the same. Okay? He says no. All right. So we're gonna go over a strategy. What is a strategy? Let's start there. If I say, this is a strategy to read something, what do I mean by that? Malachi.
A way of doing things.
Okay, way of doing things. Is it Jillian? Okay, what would your hand say?
A method of accomplishing something.
Okay, I like that one. A method of accomplishing something. So in order to read an informational text, which is difficult, this is a strategy or a way of accomplishing that in order to do so. Okay, so look at the screen. You are going to be taking 2-column notes, which is on that paper I gave you. So it's a way to read informational text, okay? So on the left side, you are taking note of main ideas. So that is things like a heading, a subheading, a title, main ideas in general, key concepts or important concepts, or something that you think is probably really important to the article, okay? So that's on the left. On the right, oh wait, Elijah, hold up a second. On the right, you will take note of details about the main ideas, okay? So on the right, you're getting more information about the big idea. So detailed information about the headings or titles. Definitions, like in the textbook, right? Details why something has happened, why an event took place. So I have an example for you guys so you know what you're getting yourself into. So this is based off the Gettysburg Address, which was President Lincoln's address during the Civil War after the Gettysburg Battle had taken place. So if we looked at that text, a main idea might be that the Founding Fathers founded the U.S. Okay, I said that several times. Details of that might be that our country is dedicated to the fact that all men are created equal. And it's based on liberty, right? And our country's freedom is a huge concept. Now, another main idea in his speech is that, obviously, the U.S. was in a civil war, okay? If you missed that, probably got some problems. We need to go back to reading informational text. So, details about that fact, speech is based on whether the U.S. can remain as one union, right? Because when he's speaking, he's questioning whether we should split or whether we can remain as one unified union, all right? And then and then the last part, speech is about dedicating the battlefield to those lost in the battle. Some details might be Gettysburg is a final resting place for those soldiers, and it is fitting and proper to acknowledge these deaths, okay? So you're looking for main ideas, big concepts, and then you're looking for the small details that support that concept, okay? Just like if you're reading a science textbook, and you get across, give me a science term, I can't even think of one. I don't have that ability. Mitosis. Okay, I'm so sorry. So mitosis on the left, right, that's a big concept. On the right, when I have details, I might list the definition. I might list some examples, okay, what the textbook has to say about mitosis. All right? I think Meiosis, isn't that another one? Yeah, see that, guys? Alright. Can I have a thumbs up, thumbs down on understanding how to do this? So thumbs up if you got it, thumbs middle if you're kind of confused, thumbs down if you got nothing. Okay, can I have everyone's thumb? Okay, cool. So I'll come around and help as necessary. So here's why we're doing this. I'm just like, yeah, thumbs up. Okay? Here's why we're doing this. In the story that we're going to be reading, it's about the partition of India. Partition, what's that word? Besides the Beyonce song. Okay, it's a split apart. The most common known form of the word is, have you guys ever been in a limo? Yep. Or dreamed about being in a limo? That thing that separates the driver from the cool people in the back, that's called a partition. Okay? I'm just in a good mood today, guys. I don't know why. Okay? So, this is a little bit of background on the partition of India, and then we're going to read some. So, Johnny, we don't need to be on the computer at all for this. Kaylin, you either. We're just watching this video. No, not on this. You're just watching. Okay? Oh my gosh, goodness gracious. Don't we all?
In 1947, Britain prepared to end nearly a century of rule over the Indian subcontinent and its 390 million people. Hindus were concentrated in central and southern India, Muslims in Bengal and the northwest. A British commission divided the territory into majority Muslim Pakistan and majority Hindu India. In the chaos that followed partition, 15 million people fled across the new borders and 500,000 died in rioting. 4 border regions saw the worst of it: Sindh, Bengal, Punjab, and Jammu and Kashmir. Among India's 565 princely states, only Jammu and Kashmir had a Hindu Maharaja ruling over a majority Muslim population. India claimed the Maharaja decided to join India. Pakistan disputed this. In October, Pashtuns from Pakistan's northwest frontier province invaded Kashmir with the support of Pakistan's government. In October of 1947, the Maharaja left Srinagar. Indian troops were airlifted in, but were ill prepared for the cold and altitude. Pakistan responded with its own campaign, and India approached the United Nations to broker a ceasefire, which went into effect on January 1st, 1949, establishing a line of control.
Okay, so right away, what is the main conflict over? Religion. What two religions? Hindu and Muslim. Okay.
Control, but no final border. In 1962, China attacked India in the Aksai Chin region of Kashmir, easily defeating India's poorly equipped Himalayan troops. China retains control of the Aksai Chin today. 3 years later, encouraged by China's success, Pakistan sent troops across the line of control dressed as Kashmiri locals. The fighting proved brief and inconclusive. On September 22nd, both sides agreed to a UN-backed ceasefire. Another brief war broke out over East Pakistan in 1971, this one conclusive. East Pakistan seceded, 10 million refugees streamed into West Bengal, and with India's help, Bangladesh was born. In 1999, after both India and Pakistan had successfully tested nuclear weapons, full-scale war was barely avoided when Pakistan tried to seize the Kargil region of Indian-controlled Kashmir. At one time, an average of 1 Pakistani soldier every 4 days and 1 Indian soldier every other day died at the Siachen Glacier, and the terrorist attacks in Mumbai in November 2008 were reportedly planned by senior members of Lashkar-e-Toiba, which Pakistan created to fight Indian domination of Kashmir, and which India accuses of terrorist atrocities all over India. The conflict simmers. In 2007, 777 people were killed in violence in Jammu and Kashmir.
So look at the number of fatalities. In 2001, almost 5,000 fatalities that they know of, that are documented by the government. Okay, think about that. Over religion. Okay? 2002, so now, in current day, it's not as big of an issue, this conflict.
Bringing the 2-decade total above 47,000 by India's official count. According to some Kashmiris, the total is twice that number.
Okay? So, the reason why we watched that video is in the next informational text that you're going to access, it is about this conflict, and it goes into a lot of detail about why this happens, okay? Now you might be like, why the heck are we reading about India and Pakistan? Okay. This article that the short story that you guys read tomorrow when Mr. Prasada came to dine, it's about neighbors who are friends, and one day the partition happens and they can no longer, like, basically operate together. Okay? So imagine, like, one day we're all here, and then the government decides that Sacramento and El Dorado County are at war. So no longer, if you were in Sacramento County, can we interact because you are from Sacramento County. Okay? I'm not saying you, I'm saying, like, that goes to that. Johnny.
So, kind of like the Berlin Wall.
Mm-hmm. Very similar. You guys will get into that in world world history next year. Okay? But yeah, a lot of these crazy wars that had happened are about things like the conflict of culture, which that's the unit we're in right now, remember? That's how we're reading the story, okay? So today is basically getting you guys the background information you need to have to understand this short story. So, you guys can either pull it up on Chromebooks, or I'll have it up here and we're going to read it together. Okay.
Now we're gonna write down the notes on here.
Yep. Okay. If you would prefer to read this on your own and not as a class, you're more than welcome to go in the back room and turn the lights on and take your notes. Okay, Johnny, you want to do that? So I need to see, Johnny, if that's true, I need to see it finished by the end of the period. Okay? Let me grab you a sheet, Rowan. The bathroom? Yeah. Mom, can we get this Rowan behind you? Next to Esther. That's Esther.
Do you have any
Yes. Did you check your backpack? Yeah. Huh? Okay. All right. Hold on. We have no nut allergies, right? No, Charles is not here. Okay. Yeah.
Do we have a template of this in modules?
No, I passed them out to you on Wednesday, aka Tuesday.
Where?
I passed it out to you on Tuesday. What? How come everyone else has one and you don't? So you need to find it. Okay. It has your vocab words on the back?
Oh, that? I just remember that.
No. This is on Canvas. Okay. If you would like to review, if you want to pull it up on Canvas and read as we go, yeah, that's fine.
I don't know this.
Elijah, just do it on paper and I'll print out vocab words. Okay. All right. Raise your hand if you're ready to read. Raise your hand if you're ready to read. Okay. I'm just waiting for a few people. So as we read, you guys should be Faith, hun. Okay. As you read, I want you guys to look for main ideas. Maybe that is the headings or the topics or vocab words that give me details. You need at least 4 individual points. All right. Kyle, do you have a good? Remember I gave you Alright, follow along as I read, okay? If I think you're not paying attention, I will call on you to read. Located in Southeast Asia, India is the world's 7th largest country and the 2nd most populous with over 1 billion people. India is a culturally rich area that has emerged from a number of divisions and conflicts throughout its lifespan. Previously held under the administration of the United Kingdom, England, okay, from From the mid-19th century, India became an independent state in 1947 following an independence struggle led by Gandhi, and has advanced throughout that time into one of the world's leading economic powers. However, India also faces issues of large-scale poverty as well as corruption and terrorism. Conflict has affected the region, particularly between Hindus and Muslims, with riots between the two traced back to 1893. So we're going more than 100 years of clash between Muslims and Hindus in this area. The area has also witnessed separation and partition, such as the split of the large eastern province of Bengal into two based on religious lines. Okay? Raise your hand if you've heard of Gandhi. Okay. Good. So Mahatma Gandhi was the leader of the Indian independence movement in British-ruled India. Gandhi believed in non-violent protests and was an inspiration to millions of followers. Gandhi was opposed to the partition of India and Pakistan and worked towards improving Hindu-Muslim relations. So he was kind of like, he's a face for non-violent protests. Okay, marches, walks, things like that. He's kind of the main guy behind it. All right, so this is the area of the world we're in. You guys know that? We're in India and Pakistan. All right. Okay, we're going to review some of the religious aspects that this is talking about. This might be good for your chart. What is a Hindu? Okay, a Hindu is a follower of Hinduism, which is the world's oldest and third most practiced religion. Not a single religion in itself, Hinduism is a collection of religions and practices that originate from India. Okay, doesn't have any prophets, doesn't have a single teacher or anything like that. That is the most common religion from the area of India. Okay. Now, what is a Muslim? A Muslim is a follower of Islam, which is the second most practiced religion in the world. Islam was revealed to the world by the Prophet Muhammad, sent by Allah, whose words were recorded in the Holy Quran. The Arabic word Islam comes from a word meaning peace. Okay? So, in this area of the world, Hinduism and Islam are the two most common religions. Okay? In that part of the world. If you're taking note, I feel like everyone's taking notes. Now, if
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the first?
I think it said Hinduism is, but this might be a little old.
No, that's the third.
Oh, I think Christianity. Yeah.
I didn't know Islam was that big.
Islam's really big. Think of the entire Middle East basically practices Islam. Judaism is in there, in the more southern parts of northern Africa. That's probably the fourth most practiced. But remember, in this area of the world, those two dominate, right? If you come over west into the United States and England and Europe, what's the most dominant religion? Christianity by far.
So Hinduism is just a gathering of other religions into one.
I think it's. I mean, I'm not a religion teacher. I don't know Hinduism by far. But that's what this is saying. Yeah, it's saying that it's a collection of a lot of practices that originated from the culture. Remember that mythology thing that we did with that video on Hinduism? You might not have been here yet, Malachi.
Oh, yeah.
But were you here? It kind of talks about how their practices originate from the culture. Raise your hand if you need more time, or you want me to. Okay, that was very clear. I will continue. The reason I wanted to give you guys background information is I don't think a lot of us know about this. I don't think I really did either. So it's hard to read a story when this is the foundation and not know what's going on, right? All right. Hindu-Muslim riots. In India, riots between Hindus and Muslims can be traced back again to 1893, sparked off by religious processions, disputes over temples and mosques, and cow protection movements. Okay? If I knew one thing about Hinduism, it's that cows are sacred. Okay? Cows are viewed within Hinduism as a symbol of wealth and abundance, so they do not eat beef, because the cow is a symbol of, it's just like a really
Cows are
important
allowed to
animal.
walk everywhere.
Yeah, cows literally are everywhere in
If a
India.
cow goes to your house, you must.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right. One of the first major communal riots took place in August 1893 in Mumbai when 100 people were killed and 800 injured in riots that lasted for over 6 months. The aftermath of the riots were felt across northern India all the way to Bombay and Rangoon. Calcutta riots. Okay? The Calcutta riots of August 6, 1946, also known as Great Calcutta Killing or Direct Action Day, was a day of widespread riot and manslaughter in the city of Calcutta. The Muslim League Council planned a general strike to demand the creation of a separate country for Indians. Okay? So let's stop real quick. Why is the Muslim League Council wanting to create a separate country for Muslims versus Hindus? Based off what we read, why do you think this league is like, we need to separate? Because there's a war? Okay, what were you going to say about that?
They can't live together.
Yeah, there's been constant riots and fighting, right? From the past 50 years at this point. And what is happening in 1946? Speak of world events. What's going on right now?
World War II.
World War II, exactly. Okay? So, is tension in the world a little high right now? Yeah. Okay? So for them to be calling for a separate country, that might have happened because World War II had just ended, right? There was a lot of violence happening in the world. Okay. What started as a day of protest resulted in the deaths of 5,000 to 10,000 people, while a further 15,000 were wounded over a 3-day period of conflict during riots and manslaughter between both sides and the worst riots the country had ever seen. Not a good day for India.
How many did?
It said between 5,000 and 10,000. Skirmishes between the communities continued for almost a week. 5 battalions of British troops, supported by 4 battalions of Indians and Gurkhas, were deployed in the city in the days that followed, and rioting eventually reduced by August 22nd. Figures vary as to how many people died or were injured, with official estimates suggesting 4,000 dead and 100,000 injured, while other sources suggest many more thousands died. The breakdown of Hindu and Muslim casualties also varies. So, if they're suggesting 4,000, what this is saying, the breakdown of Hindu and Muslim casualties also varies. They're not sure how many of that 4,000 were Hindu and how many of them were Muslim. So they're not sure along which lines that many people died. Okay? India and Pakistan won independence in August 1947, following a nationalist struggle lasting nearly 3 decades. So how long is 3 decades? 30 years. A decade's 10 years, so 3 decades. It led to the largest mass migration in human history of up to 10 million people. As many as 1 million civilians died in the accompanying riots and local level fighting, particularly in the western region of Punjab, which was cut in two by the border. An agreement was met that divided colonial India into 2 separate states, one with a Muslim majority and the other with a Hindu majority. So what has happened to India? What happened to India? Rowan, can you say that?
Split.
So they were like, all right, here we go. 2. Okay, and they like dropped a knife down and split them up. Okay? So one day you're an American and then, right, the country, or one day you're, one day you're an American and you live in Elder County, South Dakota County, and then one day the government puts a knife right between you guys because you guys can no longer interact.
State of Jefferson.
Okay? Literally state of Jefferson. Okay?
Everybody can hear the question.
So, this is giving us more information about the Muslim League Council that originally wanted to separate the two, okay? It says it was a political party established in the early 20th century and held a strong advocacy for the establishment of a separate Muslim majority nation, which successfully led to the partition of India in 1947. Okay? So this is the group that initially was like, yo, we need to separate this country. Okay? And they won. They ended up going with it. All right, over here on the left. We're not going to get there.
So it splits country between what?
So, remember, the United Kingdom, England, basically colonized India at this time. So Britain was in control. So India was split into Muslim majority Pakistan and Hindu majority India. So where Pakistan is in the world today, so this is Pakistan, right? It used to all just be India.
Isn't Pakistan one of the most dangerous places?
I don't know about that. It has a lot of, I mean, this whole region of the world is not the safest place.
I thought India was fine.
No, especially if you're a woman.
Why?
It's a lot of gender violence.
Oh, I thought India was like a
No.
It's
not.
No.
I wish that's how the whole world was. Okay. All right, I'm going to continue, okay? So right now it's 1947 when India separates finally, okay? It's 1947. So after the first year, it took a year for them to be like, okay, we can separate, and then actually doing it. What?
I mean, like, it's a government that's doing it, so yeah.
Yes.
It's going to take a while.
No, I'm saying that's pretty quick for...
True.
That's really quick for them to take that kind of action, okay? All right, raise your hand if you do not want me to move on. All right, I'll continue. So Pakistan separates. Pakistan's history from 1947 to 1971 was marked by political instability and economic difficulties. In 1956, a constitution was eventually adopted, making the country an Islamic republic within the Commonwealth. You know what the Commonwealth is? Anyone? The Commonwealth are areas that have been colonized by Great Britain, okay? So like Australia, India, I don't know if Ireland is. Is it the Commonwealth?
Yeah, I think it
I think it is. I'm not sure though. So it's the Islamic Republic within the Commonwealth. Basically, it's saying this is the area where Muslims live. From the early stages of Pakistan in 1947, frictions between the East and West were prevalent, which means they were common and often. Separated by more than 1,000 miles of Indian territory, the two regions, East Pakistan, also called East Bengal, and West Pakistan, were split along cultural, geographical, and ethnic and linguistic lines. East Pakistanis felt exploited by the West Pakistan-dominated central government. In 1948, the government of Pakistan ordained Urdu as the sole national language, sparking extensive protests among the Bengali-speaking majority of East Pakistan. Ella, focus, okay? Yesterday we watched a What Would You Do if you were in class. If you were at home, you watched the one about the Muslim man and woman who weren't being seated because of the hijab. And then we watched one in class, if you weren't here, about Spanish speakers. So it caught like these couples being like, if you live in America, you need to speak English. Okay? That's kind of similar to what this is saying, right? They ordained Urdu as the sole national language. But all those other people who spoke Bengali, they were like, what about us? We don't speak that language. How are we supposed to communicate? Okay? Last year, I had a refugee at the school I was at last year. I had a refugee from Pakistan who spoke Bengali because his language and his culture is still under attack. Like, this still is an issue today. This is the language that he spoke. Facing rising sectarian tensions and mass discontent with the new law, the government outlawed public meetings and rallies. Okay? Public meetings and rallies. In the United States, what is a public... Why can we have public rallies anywhere?
Freedom of speech.
Okay, Ron, were you going to say that? The freedom of speech. The First Amendment gives us right to do that. Okay? What was the date? 1948. Students of the University of Dhaka and other political activists defied the law and organized a protest on February 21st, 1952. The language movement reached its climax when police killed a number of the student demonstrators, provoking widespread civil unrest led by the Awami Muslim League. Okay? So now you got all these college kids who are like, people in this country speak other languages, right? This whole national language thing doesn't make sense for this country. So what happens? Police killed a number of the students, the student demonstrators. Okay? This is kind of a recurrent theme in world history when it's not a democracy and people try to uprise and question those in power, right? Things like this happen. So we have to be aware of those things to understand what's happening in the world, okay? Because in the United States, we have that protection, right? We can protest and we can rally like nobody's business, okay? It's like our favorite thing to do in this country. After years of conflict, the central government relented and granted official status to the Bengali language in 1956. In 2000, UNESCO, which is the United Nations, a bunch of other stuff, declared February 21st International Mother Language Day for the whole world to celebrate and tribute to the language movement. The language movement catalyzed Bengali national identity in Pakistan, subsequently leading to the Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971. Okay? Is this interesting? Like learning about something that's like completely we're not used to? Okay, good. I'm doing something right then. I heard an was that Kaylin? Supposed to say yes. Okay. Yay! Bangladesh Liberation War. The Bangladesh Liberation War broke out March 26, 1971, when the Pakistan Army launched a military operation against Bengali civilians, students, and armed personnel. Dude, we were just happy. We were just doing good. In response, Bengali political and military leaders proclaimed the Declaration of Bangladesh's independence. A defection made up of military, paramilitary members and civilians formed the Mukti Bahini, which engaged in guerrilla warfare against Pakistani forces. Do you know what guerrilla warfare is? I wish. Anyone know? Okay, could someone explain what they know, the knowledge of?
So it's pretty much like non-tactical fighting, very like hit and run type strategies.
A certain type of group. It's just a bunch of people making their own groups.
Yeah.
Doing what
We're
they
just
want to
like, and charge, and run, and
it's usually
back and
very
forth, and
militant.
yeah.
So by that, in Africa, it's really bad right now in terms of the guerrilla warfare. But yeah, there's no like government behind it being like, okay, we're going to go in this and do this. It's just a military group or a militant group that's kind of gone haywire and is doing their own thing, attacking people, and it's very violent and very intense. So that's what's happening now in Pakistan, okay? Recognized as one of the most violent wars of the 20th century, and yet we've never heard of it. Isn't that interesting? The Liberation War lasted for over 9 months and saw large-scale atrocities, the exodus of 10 million refugees, and the displacement of 30 million people. So because of this war, 10 million people now don't have a home. Okay? Where are they supposed to go? America, literally, right? Okay? So now, in addition to this war, you have a humanitarian crisis. You've got 10 million people, men, wives, babies, okay, without a home in the middle of a war. India, already providing economic, military, and diplomatic support to Bengali nationalists, entered the war on December 3rd, 1971, after Pakistan launched airstrikes on northern India. Overwhelmed by two war fronts, Pakistani defenses soon collapsed. On December 16th, the Allied forces of Bangladesh and India defeated Pakistan in the east. The subsequent surrender resulted in the largest number of prisoners of war since the Second World War. Okay? So that means, what is this? What is a prisoner of war? What's a prisoner of war? I'm trying to ignore you right now, Caleb, because you answer a lot. She doesn't even answer a lot, too.
Person from a different country and that country in prison.
Yeah. So, in the United States, have you guys, Levi, you two might know, I can't remember the name of it. the Vietnam prisoners of war who were never found, there's a flag for it and a name, I can't remember, but you'll see them flying. Palmia? Here, I'm going to show you guys because this is actually...
I have a guy who I know who he is. It's called Palmia.
Is that right? So have you guys ever seen this flag? That is for Vietnam prisoners of war who never came home and were never found. So whenever you see that flag, it's someone paying tribute to the soldiers who never came home and were never found. Okay? Alright, so we have a nice little timeline here. If you're a visual learner and this helps you in understanding what's happening in this area, 1961 was the first major Hindu-Muslim riots since the partition. Okay? 1969, we have major riots. 1970, we have more riots. These are all just riots, guys. Literally. Let's go to today, 2008. Okay? Let's see what's going on in today's world. Actually, this is 2002. Alright, I'm right here if you want to follow along. 2002. I don't even know how to say that. The Gujarat riots. Huh?
I think it's Gujarat.
Gujarat. I don't know if they say their J's or if they're silent. Began in February 2002 when an express train was attacked by a Muslim mob. 58 pilgrims returning from the ancient city of Ayodhya were killed in the attack, leading to retaliatory attacks against Muslims and riots on a large scale. Thousands were killed and injured in the subsequent attacks, and hundreds of buildings, including places of worship, were damaged. The nature of the events remained controversial in India, and some have characterized the deaths of both Hindus and Muslims as a genocide in which the state was complicit. Genocide. That's a word. Everyone look at me. Genocide. That's a word we should all be familiar with because it's terrible and it happens today. Do you know what that is? Anyone heard of it? Faith?
Yeah, it's a large number of murders or killings.
Of human beings. Correct. Elijah, how are you going to define it?
It's a wipeout of an entire race of people.
Basically. Okay? And it happens today. There's the Rohingya genocide. There's the Bengali genocide. It's not just the Holocaust. What you guys learn a lot about is the Holocaust as being like the most epic, devastating thing that happened to mankind. It still happens today. Okay? That's why it's so important to be aware of what happens in the world. So now in 2008, in Dahul, India, Hindus and Muslims had lived together peacefully until 2008 when fierce rioting between the two led to the destruction of temples and mosques and the loss of life. 4 years later, riots again engulfed the city, claiming more lives. Some policemen were caught on camera instigating the trouble. So, these are perspectives. So remember how we talked about subjective truth, right? Like what your life experiences are affect the way you outlook on things, the way that you approach the world. These are kind of those things. So these could be details for your chart, right? These are supporting certain things. So this is a famous quote by Gandhi from a speech. He said, "How can one be compelled to accept slavery? I simply refuse to do the master's bidding. He may torture me, break my bones to atoms, and even kill me. He will then have my dead body, not my obedience. Ultimately, therefore, it is I who am the victor and not he, for he has failed in getting me to do what he wanted done." Okay? So now this is an excerpt from the Indian Declaration of Independence. "We believe that it is the inalienable right of the Indian people, as of any other people, to have freedom and to enjoy the fruits of their toil and have the necessities of life so that they may have full opportunities of growth. We believe also that if any government deprives a people of these rights and oppresses them, the people have a further right to alter it or abolish it." What does that sound like? Does that ring a bell? To what? Kind of, right? They talk about the inalienable rights. They talk about if the government deprives a person of these rights, then they have the right to abolish it. That was a big phrase in the Declaration of Independence that they wrote to the King of England, right? They're like, if you're not going to help us out, if you're going to tax us, not do anything, we have the right to separate ourselves. Let's see. So you guys to have when you're reading the story tomorrow, because it would be really hard to understand why you could no longer speak to someone, right? Why all of a sudden it would be not okay for you to interact with someone that you've always interacted with, unless you know the history. Same thing in South Africa with apartheid, which was the legalized system of racism and discrimination. You were not allowed to interact with another race. So if you were white, you were white. If you were black, you had to be in the ghettos and you couldn't work. If you were colored or mixed or Indian, you were again separated from another thing. Okay. I have my aunt's best friend from South Africa, and she grew up in apartheid. So in that system, she was not allowed to communicate with people other than white South Africans. Okay? When her grandfather was growing up, his best friend was a black kid in town. When apartheid was adopted in 1946, he no longer could talk to that kid. He was literally pulled from his house and moved across town. So when we read stories that are so far-fetched from our own society, it's hard to imagine that happening to us. So we have to do the type of background information like this in order to understand or relate to the story. Okay? So this, if you need to go back through, I would highly recommend it and take notes to get a lot of main ideas and details. Okay? You should not have written like 2 words. I should see those boxes pretty filled out. That's how I'm going to grade them. Okay? So take this time to go back through and take some detailed main ideas and supporting details on that. Remember, you need to have at least 4 main ideas.